If you are raising a child in the Netherlands, you may have heard this question before. Isn't that too many languages? At daycare, your child hears Dutch. With mum, the child hears English. With dad, the child hears Portuguese. And somewhere in the middle of daily life, you may start wondering, are we helping our child, or are we making language more confusing? This video is for expat parents raising multilingual children. Not in theory, in real life, with daycare drop-offs, tired evenings, mixed sentences, and family members in different countries. Let's start with the first myth. Myth 1. Multiple languages will confuse a child. This sounds logical at first. Adults often imagine language like separate boxes. Dutch in one box, English in another, Portuguese in another. So when a child mixes words, adults think the boxes are broken, but that is not what is happening. A multilingual child is not confused. A multilingual child is sorting systems. Children learn language through patterns. Who speaks this way? Where do I hear this word? Which language works with this person? Which language works in this place? At daycare, Dutch becomes connected with teachers, routines, songs, and other children. With mum, English becomes connected with comfort, stories, and everyday care. With dad, Portuguese becomes connected with play, family identity, and emotional connection. The child is not failing. The child is mapping the world. So when your child says something like, "Mama, I want water," or mixes a Dutch word into an English sentence, or answers dad in Dutch after hearing Portuguese, that does not automatically mean something is wrong. Often it means the child is using the fastest available word. That is communication, not failure. Myth 2. We should stop using the home languages until Dutch improves. This is one of the most stressful myths for expat parents, because Dutch feels urgent. Dutch is the daycare language. Dutch is the school language. Dutch is the language of forms, teachers, playdates, and the future in the Netherlands. So some parents think, maybe we should stop English. Maybe we should stop Portuguese. Maybe we should focus only on Dutch for a while. But language development does not work like a competition where one language has to lose for another language to win. A strong home language can support the school language. When a child understands stories, emotions, routines, and explanations in one language, that knowledge does not disappear when another language is used. Meaning transfers, concepts transfer, confidence transfers. If your child knows what before dinner means in English or understands a bedtime routine in Portuguese, the child is not starting from zero when learning similar ideas in Dutch. The brain is building connections, and the home language is not just vocabulary, it is the language of family, the language of jokes, the language of grandparents, the language of comfort when a child is tired, scared, or overwhelmed. When parents suddenly stop using the language they are most natural in, something else can happen. The language may become less rich, the emotional connection may feel less natural, and the parent may speak less. That is not better language input. That is often poorer language input. So the question is not, should we stop English or Portuguese? The better question is, how can we keep English and Portuguese warm, consistent, and meaningful while Dutch grows outside the home? Myth 3. If my child answers in Dutch, our language is not working. Imagine this. Mum asks a question in English. The child understands perfectly, but answers in Dutch. Dad says something in Portuguese. The child smiles, follows the instruction, but answers with a Dutch sentence. This can hurt. Parents may feel rejected. They may think, my child is losing my language. My child does not want to speak with me. I have failed, but understanding usually comes before speaking. A child may understand English from mum and Portuguese from dad long before using both languages actively. Answering in Dutch may simply mean Dutch is easier to access in that moment. Maybe the child just came home from daycare. Maybe the child is tired. Maybe Dutch words are currently closer to the surface. That does not mean English or Portuguese is gone. It means the child is choosing the easiest output. The parent's job is not to panic. The parent's job is to keep the language door open. If the child answers in Dutch, you can respond naturally in your language. If mum speaks English, mum can answer in English. If dad speaks Portuguese, dad can answer in Portuguese. Not as punishment, not as a test, just as steady input. For example, if the child says in Dutch, "Ik wil water," mum can say, "You want water? Of course, here is your water." Dad can say in Portuguese, "Você quer água?" "Claro, aqui está." The child hears the model. The conversation continues. No shame, no language battle. Myth 4. We should correct every mistake immediately. This myth comes from love. Parents want to help. They want the child to learn properly. But constant correction can make children speak less. If every sentence becomes a lesson, the child may stop taking risks, and language learning needs risk. A child has to try words before they are perfect. So instead of correcting every mistake, model the sentence naturally. If the child says, "He goaded to daycare," you do not need to say, "No, that is wrong." You can say, "Yes, he went to daycare." If the child mixes languages, you can gently give the full sentence in your language. The goal is not to win the Grammar Police Championship. The goal is to keep the conversation alive, because children learn language best when they feel safe enough to keep speaking. Now let's talk about identity. For multilingual families, language is not only a school skill, it is belonging. Dutch may help your child belong in the Netherlands. English may connect the child to mum. Portuguese may connect the child to dad, grandparents, cousins, stories, music, and family history. These languages are not enemies, they are bridges. And yes, some days will look messy. Some sentences will be mixed. Some answers will come in Dutch when you hoped for English or Portuguese. Some phases will feel unbalanced. That does not mean the system is broken. It means the child is growing inside more than one world. So what can parents actually do? First, keep your language consistent. If mum speaks English, keep English warm and predictable. If dad speaks Portuguese, keep Portuguese alive in daily routines. Second, connect language to real life. Use it during meals, bath time, walks, stories, play, and small emotional moments. Third, do not turn language into a test. Instead of asking children to perform, give them language they can use. Fourth, protect the relationship. A child who feels safe with you will keep listening to you, and listening is part of language development. Fifth, let Dutch grow without letting it erase the home languages. Dutch matters, school language matters, but belonging matters too. A multilingual child is not a problem to fix. A multilingual child is a child building a larger map. More sounds, more people, more places, more ways to belong. So if your child mixes Dutch, English, and Portuguese, pause before you panic. Maybe it is not confusion, maybe it is construction. Your child is not failing, your child is adapting, and your steady, warm language input is not a burden, it is an anchor. Subscribe and follow Raising World Kids for calm, practical parenting reframes for multilingual families.